Hello and welcome to the latest episode of our award-winning podcast series, MVP the Master's Voice podcast. I'm your host and friend Pawan R. Chawla, founder editor of MediaBrief.com, and with me on this video and audio podcast today is a remarkable, respected professional. In fact, she's a young veteran. Please join me as I welcome Sheena Kapoor, Head of Marketing, Corporate Communications and CSR at ICICI Lombard, one of India's most respected and preferred companies in the entire insurance space. Sheena, welcome to the show and thank you so very much for your time. We're doing this on end of the day on a Friday, so thank you very much and welcome.
No, thank you. The pleasure is mine. Thank you, Pawan, for having me, and I look forward to an interesting, delightful conversation.
Indeed, wonderful, just as I do. Thank you. And thanks also to Simran Gill of Adfactors PR and Rima Mane of your CopCom team. You've got some excellent comms teams working for you. So they made this interaction possible. Right. So Sheena, before we begin our conversation, please let me do you the courtesy of telling our viewers and listeners a little about you. So by your leave, here goes. My distinguished guest on this episode of MVP the Master's Voice podcast is Sheena Kapoor, Head of Marketing, Corporate Communications and CSR at ICICI Lombard. Sheena joined ICICI Lombard in January 2022 from Edelweiss Financial Services, Edelweiss Wealth Management, and after 11 years at the Times of India Group. So that's amazing. Sheena has played a significant role in maintaining the ICICI Lombard stature in the comms, marketing and CSR space, positioning the brand as a prominent player in the industry always. It's always remained a giant and continues to shine. Sheena is an active LinkedIn user with a quirky style seen in her posts through which she shares her personal thoughts and content related to ICICI Lombard. And Sheena was recently honored with the Digital Marketing Leader 2023 award. Sheena is an MBA in marketing, has a brand marketing course from ISB. Sheena also has a defense background, which we know is always a great growth area for truly wonderful professionals across the spectrum of industry and enterprise, right? And so Sheena, like I said, has a defense background and a deep attachment to Pune, and she frequently travels between Mumbai and Pune or wherever else she is during the week. So that in very brief is about Sheena Kapoor, my distinguished guest on this episode of MediaBrief from MediaBrief.com. Sheena, first, please share very briefly about ICICI Lombard's product portfolio and what it does in the CSR space. Just the top lines of both. We'll discuss CSR at some length later. Just give me the introduction to ICICI Lombard.
Yeah, right. So ICICI Lombard, and I'm very privileged and fortunate to be working with them. We are the number one private general insurer in the country. From a product portfolio, general insurance, in simple layman terms, is non-life, which predominantly includes health insurance, your motor insurance, which includes car, two-wheelers, four-wheelers, the entire spread, and travel insurance. So for retail guys who are wanting to travel overseas or even domestic. We have insurance for the commercial lines, which takes care of, servicing the needs for SMEs and corporates, which includes products like group health, fire, liability, marine, to cater to the business needs of the customers. From a CSR perspective, just very broadly, we have been running multiple flagship programs. We work closely also with the ICICI Foundation, the parent. We have won numerous awards for our CSR initiatives, and I think very, distinctly it highlights the heart of the brand of ICICI Lombard. The flagship programs include the likes of Right to Safety, which is about a helmet distribution, and links very closely with synergies with our motor insurance. We work very closely again on the sanitation side with Niranjali, which is installing water purifiers, solar panel installations, working with the rural centers in equipping them with some medical equipment and healthcare facilities. And we also have a very ambitious and a very dear to heart, one of the largest employee volunteering initiatives that we run called Caring Hands.
Wonderful. I can see the passion for CSR. Also, I'm sure you do everything with equal passion. You have a vast and a big, wide, broad role. But, I think you answered quite a bit of one of my future questions that's going to be coming up on CSR, but I'm sure you'll be sharing a lot more insights later. But thank you very much for that lovely, quick, brief walkthrough. And now, do you want to walk us through very quickly through your educational and professional journey before you joined ICICI Lombard? I mean, I know you got even an ISB marketing degree, but just walk us through your educational and professional journey before you joined ICICI.
Yeah, sure. I mean, starting from the education, like you mentioned, I feel very fortunate to have been born to a 4G household. Dad's now retired. But that was really gives me a lot of foundational, the formative years in terms of the skills which have later helped me in the long run. And looking back, that has been a tremendous learning and support for me. Most of my post-grad was done in Pune because that's where my folks and dad retired and settled. Done my graduation and postgrad from Symbiosis, SIBM MBA. I later did the brand marketing course from ISB. Most of my working life has actually been in Amchi, Mumbai, and started my career with a management consulting firm, so straight out of college. And I think I've been again blessed to have been a straight grade A student, so I was a merit topper in CET and the first student to get placed on campus. With management consulting, I think it was also it was great to get that exposure working with the C-suite in boardrooms and listening to the kind of organizational challenges that CEOs really grapple with. Post which, like you mentioned, yes, a long part of my career has been with the Times of India group. So when I started with Times of India, I joined them in their financial services division called Times of Money with a flagship brand called Remit to India. And we were India's first online pioneering remittance solution. And I'm talking way back, 2003, 2004, when internet itself was very nascent. So to get NRIs to send money back home into India using internet, services from a non-banking entity, that too, because we were part of a media group. So that was the Times of Money stint. Post which I moved internally with Times, and that was actually the closest that I've gotten to being an entrepreneur. That was on the real estate side. So it was a real estate division of Artha Property, where we were actually 7 of us co-founding members who built and scaled that brand, and we got into real estate marketing and later into development. And then I moved again internally with Times of India Group. I think they were very kind enough. Every time I really wanted to look at a different role or an opportunity, the group was kind enough to not want to let me go and retain and give me a further challenge. And that's how I moved internally, and I was heading innovations for Times of India, Pan India, and that's where I moved to the media side of things.
And what influenced your decision to join ICICI Lombard? It's a great brand, of course, highly respected. But what else in the company and its profile drew you into ICICI?
So I've been with the financial services. Like after my time stint, I was with the Edelweiss Group, which again, again a very fabulous stint, fabulous group. And the reason why I decided to move to ICICI Lombard was it gave me an opportunity to work with a market leader. My earlier stint with Edelweiss Group, I was heading corporate marketing for the group at large. And while the canvas was really big and the learnings were great, ICICI Lombard allowed me the opportunity to get deeper into a business, to understand, when you're part of a business unit, rather than looking at the group at large, the kind of learnings and the kind of deeper insights that you get working closely with the business stakeholders. So that was one big part of it. I had huge respect, and I continue to have huge respect for our MD and CEO, Mr. Bhargav Dasgupta. It's another story that he's on his way out as we speak. But from me, it was about Bhargav, Sanjeev, the other leadership. And it spoke volumes about the kind of talent, and the culture that they had built here, which was a great move for me. And over and above, because I've headed marketing now in various stints, this role allowed me to also head and work closely in the CSR space. So that's what drew me to ICICI Lombard.
Wonderful. From corporate marketing at Edelweiss Financial Services to marketing and PR for Edelweiss Wealth Management and a solid 11 years at the Times of India Group. What do you feel have been the learnings and leadership strengths, in brief, very brief, whatever that you might want to share, that you've carried with yourself across your entire past journey to ICICI Lombard? Just three or four, very important things that you always hold most important in all that you do.
No, I think, and it's got very little to do with the kind of industry or the role that you may be involved in. It's got to do a lot more about how you are as a professional and as a leader. I truly believe that anybody can be a boss by virtue of the designation they hold. There are very few who are able to become and walk the talk as a leader. So for me, the learnings and that have helped me grow in my career, and I keep sharing this with my team, across. One has been, when and this was very early on in my career, where I was literally in my early 20s, and after literally about say 2.5 years work ex, I stopped waiting for a to-do list from my boss. And I was the one who was hungry for growth, for learning. I was always very curious to know what was the CEO discussing, say with the promoters or with the shareholders or with the investors. I was always very curious to learn what were the kind of strategic discussions that were happening. And because I was very eager to learn and grow and hungry to work, I think I used to go proactively, to the leaders and say, hey, give me more work because I want to do more work, I want to learn. And two, I used to come up with proactive ideas. So literally, I think ever since the age of, say 23, 24, a lot of my work has been self-initiated. I'm a self-starter and I take ownership. And that has been, I think, one of the biggest differentiators because, it brings about the passion and you get rewarded. On the flip side, you get rewarded with more work, so you get more stretched.
Wonderful.
But
Rewarded with more work and get stressed. And what a beautiful word cloud. Before I forget, because I haven't been taking notes as we've been talking, but it has all struck home and I've collected some gold dust for my viewers and listeners. And I want to talk about these wonderful words. One is your continuous, desire and drive to keep learning, being proactive,
yes,
self-initiating ideas and thoughts. And must have been what would have told the Times folks that, okay, from real estate to this, to that, and to the other, give her what she wants to do. And you must have shown in all. That's why you sort of moved from so many aspects of, selling with Times of India Group in India. And how beautifully well you performed there. And look at where you are today. So wonderful. Super.
right.
So more than 20 years of work ex, Sheena, and about a year and a half or so at ICICI Lombard behind you. From that perspective mix, what is your vision as the marketing, corporate communications and CSR head for these functions for ICICI Lombard in the coming years? See, a forward-thinking, learning hungry person who's smart, who's got so much of wonderful experience to back her. I'm sure you will be able to give us some very interesting insights, especially considering the evolving landscape of the insurance industry. So your vision, how you perceive this wonderful company that you are with, ICICI Lombard, moving ahead in the coming years.
No, I think at a very global macro level, it's about increasing the insurance penetration in the country and helping build India as a resilient nation. Because we are the torch bearers for the industry, given our scale and size, and given our over 21 years of legacy and the backing of the entire ICICI group. For me as a marketer, if I'm able to bridge that gap and make our products more accessible, make the brand a lot more authentic, empathetic, relatable for across the board, and the way I see it is our brand and we are specially suited and placed to literally cater to, a farmer or a kisan with his or her crop insurance, cattle insurance. He's probably running a tabela in some gaon. And on this end of the spectrum, we are catering to insurers for, the UUHNIs who are sitting in their Beamers or Mercs, from a very small Udupi restaurant guy, or an SME garment manufacturer, to very large MNCs and corporations, and that's the world that we straddle. So as a marketer, my job is, and that's what I hope for, that ICICI Lombard, any which ways, I think given the scale that we enjoy, the leadership stance that we enjoy, it makes that much job easier, but that much harder as well to maintain the leadership position and also set new benchmarks. And I have, for the last year and a half, and even in future, very clear for me that the communication has to be differentiated, has to be original, has to be relatable. So I'm trying to find a lot of white spaces. So in a lot of the campaigns and communication strategies that we've done, there's been a lot of fresh thinking, fresh perspective. I keep pushing the agencies and the team. And now with the whole disruption with AI and generative AI, we're already working very closely with the ecosystem and training our team members on learning AI tools. So the entire mix from media planning as well, moving the needle towards more digital, towards more tech, to implementing MarTech platforms, so that you're able to reach the communication that you want to the customer that you want to, in the manner that he or she wants to receive it.
Wonderful, wonderful. White spaces, new ways of communication, new attitudes and styles and outreaches. I mean, look at what your entire reach, your stature is actually covering to the footprint of it. From
Yes.
across India to the back of beyond in Bharat
Yes.
is
Yes.
ICICI Lombard
Yes.
and leading the way. That's truly wonderful. So, Sheena, you're charged with marketing both the customer and partner offerings from ICICI Lombard, which lead to revenue and business growth. That's one. And two, talking to the world, doing the CSR initiatives that ICICI Lombard is emotionally invested in. So, one is the raising business and helping it grow, and the second is CSR. What gives you greater pleasure, and how do you approach marketing and awareness for both groups of your TGs for business and brand marketing and promoting your CSR initiatives? Take time, take each part in some detail, so younger marketers and aspiring professionals, plus the older ones alike, can get some good insights. Tell us about what gives you greater pleasure and why, and your marcom strategy for the different TGs, the media mix. Please take it away.
That's a very interesting and a tough question to answer, but I enjoy aspects of both, because when you talk about the business side of it, and the marketing, there is research, there's data driven insights that we call, there are stories, consumer stories, that you highlight, and there's the whole art of storytelling, which I love. There's the entire brand building aspect, and the entire creative machinery about, and the joy from working on, some fabulous campaigns, some innovative work that's really pushing the envelope or raising the bar, not just for me, but for the industry, for the organization. So that obviously gives me a lot of joy. Personally, at a very heart level, the entire CSR work that we're doing, to be able to give back to society in whatever little but meaningful ways, and to be able to play, some sort of a role in that machinery, that you are somewhere, playing a small role in helping somebody's life get better, impacting lives, through our various programs, is extremely heartwarming.
Wonderful.
So one is, the artistic, the creative side, which I really love and enjoy, and there are certain campaigns which are very close to my heart. But if you ask me emotionally, what touches my heart a lot more is, obviously the heart of it, which is on the CSR.
And of course, being the business and finance professional also that the kind of experience that you have for so many years is also amazing. And that would come and you would bring it beautifully into play when you're looking at building the business side of things, the comms and the initiatives that actually help the business. So I think it's beautiful. You're probably working from that sweet spot between head and heart when it comes to
Right.
driving the business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Head and
Wonderful.
heart. And in a lot of places, soul as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
you are a poet at heart, really. Wonderful. That's so nice. The fun of, and I'm not trivializing something as beautifully purpose driven and crucial and critical as insurance, as one of the things. The greatest fun of doing something good is to do it really well. And here you have, head, heart, and soul, and this wonderfully accomplished young professional leading it all. So super, super. What about the media mix you use, Sheena?
So it's a function of the campaign, it's a function of the objective of the campaign. I think first and foremost, one needs to, as a marketer, understand what is the objective, what is the need gap that you're trying to address, what is the business challenge that you're trying to support. And then comes the media mix, that you decide on a certain campaign. For instance, there are certain campaigns that I may run only for the objective of creating awareness, in which case the media mix I would possibly look at more ATL, or what we call as above the line, which
Yeah,
are more
yeah.
mass media channels, just to be able to disseminate and outreach that communication to a larger set of consumers. The flip side of that is the spillover is huge, right? And your traction on the business side is not as sharp. Vis-a-vis, there are certain campaigns on product centric that we do, where the dhanda that you want to get from an ROI
Yeah,
perspective, that's
sure.
key. In which case, the metrics are different, and the media mix is different. You would do a lot more of performance based campaigns, you would do a lot more of digital targeting, or you may do just a small, very focused, sharper communication to the target segment that you want to really go after. So to just give you an example, for instance, last year when I joined, and because I was discussing and interacting with a lot of the business stakeholders, I realized that we had this sweet spot and a white space open, for us ourselves, which was in the SME insurance space, because nobody was talking about it. We were the first ones in the country and the only ones to have a digital SME insurance offering, which was seamless. And I said, hey, that's great. And, while from a business size, the potential is large. The business size for the SME business compared to, say, health and motor, was obviously far lower in terms of magnitude, but the potential was large. And I felt that this was a beautiful platform to be able to now create this and tap into this white space and positioning to be able to endear the brand to the business owners. And we broke it up into phases. The first phase of the communication was all about building affinity with the TG. So I didn't want to go ahead with saying, hey, we have this SME insurance, I've got these products, this is the pricing, and here, log on to this website or download the app. Rather, we wanted to build the brand love, and so wanted to do an entire campaign where the SME guy was the hero, and we did that as the first, storytelling as the phase. Thereafter, we went into the phase two and phase three, which was really about building the business traction. So now that you've done awareness, you've built some affinity, you've built some reach, now you want to be able to talk to the customers and say, hey, we have this XYZ product, this is how it can help you, and that's the kind of targeting. So it really depends on the metrics and the campaign
The
objectives.
business objectives and the TGs, absolutely. And also, I think another very good service you gave to the whole space is that you built that category, not
Yes,
for business, but also awareness of the need and the beauty and the power and the strength of insurance that it could give to,
yes,
the smaller
yes,
enterprises.
yes.
Right, wonderful. So digitally sold and to SMEs, and that was your connect. Now, in the past, like you mentioned, for big mass campaigns, awareness, because nowadays, what is the need or objective of a campaign? It more often than not on the digital space, it not only has to inform or create customer awareness, but also try and potential customer awareness, and also try and get customers and acquire them. It has to be done like virtually overnight or together in one go with digital campaigns at least. So For the bigger mass campaigns, you all used mass media. For this digitally sort of driven for SMEs, wonderful new initiative, new category that you created, what formats of digital did you use? Did you use also connected TV, mobile? What is your preference for in terms of deliveries, whether sports and cricket or entertainment? What works? I mean, just because see, you are a senior leader, and whenever all the mixes and everything else is planned and done, you're right up there in front. So some insights into say, all right, big mass campaign, mass media for awareness across the country. But for this digitally driven and sold offering on the SME space, what did you use? Just some insights for
Oh, sure,
youngsters.
sure. We've used again a mix of media elements. So yes, the first phase was print, even television. Then we followed it up with radio. Within digital, because we had our asset showcase, which was a film, we used YouTube, Meta, partnering with mobile led communication, partnering with SME associations on ground, because that's where you knew the ecosystem of SME owners, reside, targeting communities, which are business led communities on digital, using connected TV from a messaging platform for that, some mix of affiliate marketing. But really, it's a mix of that because you really want to understand first where is your TG, and what are the channels of communication that they are consuming, and then you want to be able to target and package the entire messaging and target them with that communication. Like even on television, one is of course a function of the kind of pockets that you have, how deep it is, and the quantum of budgets that you have. But in case and in more cases, more often than not, what happens is typically that you have a limited budget, you have limited kitty available with you, and therefore the ROI needs to be that much sharper.
Sure.
In which case, even on television, we targeted only the specific news channels
Okay.
rather than GC channels, because they were a lot more cost effective, than the GC channels. Sports association and all tends to get very expensive. B, you also have to have a very, like I said, large spillover. And you need to have guardrails about how much you want to spend, where you want to spend, and why you want to spend.
Super.
Otherwise, if I'm targeting everybody universally, I've already done that with the print and some part of the news, because I know that as an SME, he or she is more likely to be watching
Yes.
the news, and both
Absolutely.
mainstream English, Hindi, regional languages, print, regional, and then again tying it up with the business journals or business media, because that is closer to a business owner interest.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sheena. That was a really nice, detailed, very insightful response, and it should definitely help all our listeners, our viewers, think strategically, on how they can work effectively and impactfully and smartly. I mean, spillovers and the kinds of media platforms that one uses, and where they are placed in relation to the line, whether it's above or below. All of that fell in place. Sheena, only yesterday a PR person approached me saying we'd like to do a special feature on how creators and influencers use their creativity to showcase the importance of mental health day. I said, when did you do anything at all for mental health? And she said, we'll do it on the day, the calendar day. That kind of tactical approach without any apparent heart or emotional investment in it, it does tend to put one off. So, how do you, Sheena, approach your CSR initiatives? I know that ICICI Lombard doesn't make a hue and cry about what it does on the CSR front, because there is commitment and a realness about it, if I may use that word, coin that word. So, the annual CSR spend in FY23 was what, 347.3 million, and you had some great initiatives like you mentioned, Niranjali, Caring Hands, and the Right to Safety. But tell us a little more about each initiative and their positive impact in brief, please.
Yeah, I think, Pavan, you touched a very insightful and bang on when you spoke about that as a customer, as a consumer, you're able to sniff out where the brand is being inauthentic, where it is being fake. And, there are a lot of brands that try and build in purposeful marketing or try and build in, some sort of, and it really boils down to really it being gimmickry more than anything else. And that, to my mind, doesn't move the needle either ways. And you're right that it actually is a put off and a turn off, from the one, receiving the communication and as a consumer lens. So I've always believed that you should be able to walk the talk. You should be able to demonstrate where your commitment lies. For ICICI Lombard, like I mentioned, we have a slew of flagship programs, from an annual budget, and of course CSR budgets, as a mandatory, requirement as a function of 2% of your, the profit pool. But more than that, I think is the intent, the alignment with the UN SDG goals. And now more and more in the boardrooms and across corporates, you will find that there is a lot of synergy being built with the ESG mandates and sustainability measures. So, a lot of organizations are working towards net zero. They're working towards reducing their carbon footprint, working very strongly within the ecosystem, their operations, their businesses, their channel partners, the subsidiary companies, or even the supply chain that they work with, to be able to impact the entire value chain from an integrated lens. Coming to the specific CSR programs for us, Right to Safety, for instance, is a beautiful exercise and program where we are a motor insurer. Now, motor insurance typically would kick in when there is road accidents, right? When there is damage to the vehicle. From a CSR lens, you want to be able to prevent that. You want to be able to avoid that, and you want to be able to work closely with the traffic police. And we do a lot of work with the traffic police. We work a lot with the NGO kids, municipal kids, to be able to distribute helmets and do a lot of awareness camps, saying that, hey, you must wear a helmet when you're sitting on a two-wheeler. And we actually have custom designed kids helmets, which normally you don't find in the retail space. So because we order in bulk, given the scale of our impact programs, we work closely with the manufacturers to order in bulk and customize them even for the kids. We go down to the schools, we hold Right to Safety rallies where we call a lot of the kids along with the parents. We also rope in the principals, the administration, the staff. We rope in the traffic police as well, and we create this entire awareness initiative, and over and above that we also distribute helmets, and they're all ISI marked. And to supplement this, we do a lot of other video based campaigns, to try and drive road safety initiatives, whether it's about wearing the seat belt, for instance, having and adopting responsible and not reckless driving behavior on roads, educating public towards that.
Lovely, Sheena. And what about Niranjali?
Yeah, Niranjali is again one of our flagship programs where, like Right to Safety, we already had access to the schools, the municipal schools, and because we're also in health insurance and most of our programs are aligned with our lines of businesses, we felt that there was a need and an opportunity to install water purifiers so that the kids have access to safe drinking water. And again, it aligns with the UN SDG goals. And in fact, we take care so that we actually check the water levels and the TDS levels of the water before installing the water purifier. So it's only if it's above 300 do we install the water purifier, because, if the water is already potable, there's no need. But B, it also helps us, get carbon credits, which are aligned with our ESG mandate. And in the same schools, we are also able to work closely with the principals of the school and enable them and help them with conservation of energy and bringing down their electricity costs by installing solar panels. So again, it's on the sustainability measure, but for the school, therefore, we have taken on an entire ecosystem where the kids get helmets when they can come to school, so it's safe. They get access to safe drinking water, and the school saves electricity bills because now it's zeroized with solar panels.
Excellent. This entire thing is so beautifully linked with and demonstrates how wonderfully well ICICI Lombard walks the talk on the CSR space. Because, I mean, why put so much of thought and work into it when you could just say, okay, here are the top 10 most respectable NGOs, let's just give them the money that they need to use and look at every aspect. But what you're doing is actually encouraging people to remain safe, to bring in the habits and to protect them health wise also, right from, the young age, and, talking about right to safety, about Niranjali. Okay. And also, I think you're also encouraging reverse mentoring by young kids of their parents,
Yes.
in terms
Yes.
of how the responsible, safe driving, etc., has to be really adhered to. Any interesting video campaign? I'm sure all of them must have been interesting, but something close to your heart that we can play out here, and then from there we'll move on to the other questions.
Yeah, sure. But I want to cover one more aspect on our CSR program, which is on
Okay.
caring hands, which is actually out of all the programs that we run on CSR, this one's really special. This CSR program actually is exceptional and very special because it actually is one of the largest employee volunteering initiatives for any organization. On this one particular singular day, we have close to about 4,000 employees from over 10,000, 12,000 employee ecosystem of ICICI Lombard that go out to over 50 cities and over 350 schools where we cover eye checkup camps for the kids. And this is completely done 100% through employee volunteering initiatives. We just centrally hold, from the CSR lens, the entire infrastructure and the machinery of it. It's done completely by the employees. And in fact, even our Mancom, our CEOs, our CFOs, they go down to the schools and lend a hand on the eye checkups. So that's on Caring Hands. There is also our CPR video that we had done with Imran Hashmi, on World Heart Day on the health side. So we can play that as well.
There's a quirkiness to Imran Hashmi driving a CPR campaign.
Yes,
But
and
I will not
that's
belittle
why.
that. But that's really smart and very, very attention grabbing also. Because the point is, you're doing something good for society. Let it be
Absolutely.
watched. Very clever clickbait in the concept itself. Very
Which is
interesting.
why we chose Imran Hashmi, because
Very
we wanted
smart. Very
to
smart.
bust the myths about that, CPR is the kiss of life. And,
Wonderful.
sadly, because of media and the portrayal of that, it gets subjugated to being
Sure.
very trivial and frivolous,
Wonderful.
as a
Wonderful.
romantic linkage, but it's a life saving
No, no, no.
device. Um,
Absolutely. Let's watch the videos.
हाय, मुझे कुछ कहना है आप सबसे, और ये किसी फिल्म या प्रोडक्ट प्रमोशन के बारे में नहीं है। ये बात है सीपीआर के बारे में। जी हां, सीपीआर ये एक लाइफ सेविंग जरिया है जो सबको इमरजेंसी में आना बहुत जरूरी है। आप भी वही सोच रहे हैं ना कि इसमें तो आपको एक इंसान को किस करना पड़ेगा, राइट? रॉन्ग। इट्स अ मिथ। ये एक गलत फहमी है। किस और सीपीआर दोनों बहुत अलग अलग चीजें हैं। One is about romance and the other one is about saving a life. आमतौर पर फिल्मों में हीरो हीरोइन को स्लो मोशन में समंदर से निकाल के रोमांटिक बैकग्राउंड म्यूजिक के साथ बचा लेता है और फिर प्यार शुरू। लेकिन अगर असल जिंदगी में ऐसी नौबत आए तो दिल में घंटियां नहीं, सायरन बजेंगे। किस तो आप अपने पार्टनर के साथ कर सकते हैं, बट सीपीआर इज फॉर एवरीवन। पेरेंट्स, भाई बहन, दोस्त, यार, बल्कि अनजान लोगों को भी आप सीपीआर दे सकते हैं बिना झिझक। अगर हम सब सीपीआर देना सीख जाएं, तो हर साल हम बहुत सारी जानें बचा सकते हैं। सीपीआर देना सीखिए और जानें बचाइए। आइए देखते हैं कैसे। तो इस वर्ल्ड हार्ट डे पे अपनी दिल की सुनो, सीपीआर सीखो, सेव अ लाइफ। सो किस द मिथ गुड बाय। आईसीआईसीआई लोम्बार्ड, निभाए वादे।
Really wonderful, very, very interesting, and so much of thought and planning had gone into it, obviously. So, truly, you close the loop so beautifully. It's not just about, you're an insurance, ICICI Lombard, in insuring the lives, property, etc. of people through the various services that you provide, right? That must definitely make you happy because you are driving profit through purpose just by the very nature of your business. That itself is amazing. But the CSR initiatives of ICICI Lombard really do demonstrate how it walks the talk. So for that, I say great work and I say thank you for what you do for society, Sheena.
Thank you.
And you had a wonderful video also, a lovely campaign for the SME campaign actually. So let's have that video.
Sure.
20% children in the age group of 5 to 12 years have poor vision or vision complications. Amongst them, thousands of underprivileged children face poor vision symptoms but do not have access to quality vision checkups. Suraj could not read what is written on the board properly. Meenakshi's eye would strain when she read from the textbook for a long time. Amit experienced regular pain in his eyes. Preeti missed classes due to frequent headaches. What's common in all their stories? Lack of diagnosis. Then one day, something changed for Suraj, Meenakshi, Preeti, Amit, and thousands of underprivileged children in India. Because ICICI Lombard launched the Caring Hands initiative in 2011 to ensure underprivileged children can look at their future with a better vision. With a team of experts and employees as volunteers, Caring Hands has been providing preventive healthcare services and spectacles to those in need, so that thousands of children like Suraj can read everything clearly at his history class. Meenakshi can read her favorite textbook for a longer duration. Amit does not face discomfort in his eyes. And headaches don't stop Preeti from topping her math class. Here's to looking at a bright, clear future.
Wonderful campaigns across marketing, across CSR. Great campaigns like these are the result of great client agency relationships, right? So with your extensive experience in the industry, how do you perceive the dynamics of client agency relationships today? And how do you believe that they could be enhanced for mutual benefit?
The entire ecosystem of client agency, it works, I believe, on mutual respect. And I have seen that a lot of times clients end up abusing the kind of authority and the kind of hold because, this side of the bread is buttered and one is receiving and asking for business while one is holding the purse strings on the other end of the spectrum. But I think it's important to be mutually respectful towards each other and understand that they're also human beings at the end of the day and not just expect, that I need something to be done last minute and I need this delivered, and I'm the client and, that's it. I'm just going to throw my weight around for that. So I find that very, very disrespectful and I find that rampant in the industry. I feel that it works also beautifully when there is exchange of ideas. When you see agencies as not as vendors, but as partners, as your extended marketing team, and you pull them in on briefs, you pull them in on the strategic stuff, the setup, the goal setting, the kind of objectives that you've set for the brand, for the organization, the kind of challenges that you're facing, grappling within the organization or the industry trends. The more information that you share, the more fluid the exchange of ideas, the more fertile the kind of ideas that will come out of it, and the more creativity, gets, encouraged. And I also believe that at the end of the day, it's people's business. So to have that chemistry, to have that bonding, to be able to, have a few laughs, to be able to brainstorm together, rather than making it very transactional, I think that is also important and key. I think as clients, the other aspect is that one finds, lazy thinking and lazy marketers who kind of just outsource a lot of the thinking to the agencies and expect them to do the heavy lifting. So which again, doesn't sit well with me, because if you are the marketer and if you are the client, you better than anybody else should know what the brand and what the organization need is, or what the customer insights are. Sure, you can depend on them for ideation and the creative rendering, but if you're expecting that for everything I'm going to depend and outsource the thinking, to the agencies. I think that's not right. It's also a function of good client agency relationships where you push each other. And that I appreciate agencies who come back and push me, who come up with a lot of proactive ideas, a lot of differentiated, original ideas. That's what I really value. Because if you're going to do run-of-the-mill stuff, then that's been done to death. You want to be able to always think outside the box and think about something which is differentiated, which is ownable and relevant for the brand. And I think a lot of the creativity and originality stems from that understanding, to be able to also keep a pulse on what the competition is doing, what globally, if there are some great brands and, work that has happened that you could get inspired by. That kind of, sharing and exchange of information ideas is key.
I'm sure that every PR person and every young marketer, they would actually appreciate this, because you've given such a balanced perspective and you've put the marketer in the center, in the space where you're taking the onus and saying, I'm here to help, support, inform, guide, whatever, and also to be challenged and pushed by the agency.
Yes.
So you're the kind of marketer, I guess, because I haven't worked with you at that level, who would be open to first telling an agency, I think I want this and this to be done. And if the agency says, absolutely right, but maybe submit that you need these two things also, I think you would say, maybe if you evaluate it, you would be open to being open to that.
Totally. I think great ideas and suggestions can come from anywhere, So, and I don't even look at hierarchy-based views. I'm quite inclusive like that, because it doesn't matter if you're a junior client servicing person or the head of creative in that room. If you have a good suggestion and if you have a valid input, absolutely anything that helps, build, which is making it better for the brand, for the organization, or for the customer. Any of these three lenses, it's great.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well said. Really, gold dust for the youngsters. And you actually answered my next question, which was, how do you ensure that the youngsters in your team don't become a chorus of yes people when they are asked to say, do you like this idea or don't you? Yes, because somebody saying this said yes. So you already answered that. So, but since we're talking about the youngsters, for the budding marketing professionals, Sheena, who are tuning into our podcast, and many do that regularly, what piece of advice would you offer them as they navigate the complexities of the marketing?
Well, I would tell them, to stay hungry and actually stay foolish. Also, stay curious. Keep your eyes and ears open, because a lot of times the dots just connect when, even if you were traveling back, from office to home. It's about keeping your eyes open.
Right.
For, budding marketers, when you look at great campaigns or great, films or great ideas, try and always in your mind try and think, what could have been the marketing insight? What could have been the marketing brief? Rather than seeing the creative storytelling and getting, kind of, just the trappings of the glamour, look behind the facade and try and look at what were the insights, underlying strategy. That's where the thinking really comes from. The other bit I would say is be proactive, be a self-starter, take that sense of ownership. If you want to take up a project, drive it end to end with a sense of ownership and accountability. You should be able to leave literally your signature on the work that you do, because you are proud of the kind of output that you want to really put forth. And that kind of work ethic and credibility, if you're able to build, the rest of the pieces will just fall in place.
Beautiful. Put your signature. Thanks to the quality of what you do on what you do, the work ethic.
That's about it, because if you are seen as somebody, as a boss, for young professionals, if I'm able to see someone who's dependable, who's curious, who's wanting to learn, that's half the job done. Because I'm able to rely on the person and has a good work ethic. I know that he or she does not need managing, does not need micro supervision. I don't need to follow up constantly. So that level of responsibility, self ownership, is what would hold them in great stead in times to come. And I wish all of them, the listeners, the viewers, all the very best.
Really insightful, Sheena. Absolutely golden advice. I really enjoyed my conversation with you. Thanks for the wonderful
Likewise.
insights. And considering it has been a long conversation, the monumental patience and warmth, very grateful to you for that. And I know it's genuine, it comes from within. That's the kind of person you are. So thank you. It's good to, and it's been great to breathe the same virtual air since we've been doing this virtually with you. So, like I said, I really enjoyed my chat with you. What did you think of your conversation with me on this episode of MediaBrief?
Likewise, Pavan. I've really enjoyed this conversation a lot. Thank you for having me. I'm grateful for the opportunity as well. And I hope that we are able to meet face to face and not just virtually. So, we'd love to host you, drop by to our Prabhadevi office if you're ever the side of town.
I would love to do that. That is
Yes.
an offer I will not refuse. So, thank you ever so much, Sheena. It's been wonderful. What lovely insights. You are a young veteran, but my God, you're a young sage. We are in Corpcom and marketing and CSR and the entire profiling and honestly putting forth your company's perspectives and such a massive leading company of the country, ICICI Lombard. I think you both are fortunate to have each other. Thanks also, Sheena, to Simran Gill of Ad Factors PR and Rima Mane of your Corpcom team for having made this interaction possible. I'm going to come and meet up with you sometime soon.
Yes, thank you so much. You make me sound like I've achieved a lot, but I think I have miles to go before I sleep. But thank you so much. You've been very, very kind. Thank you.
Wonderful. That was the head of marketing, corporate communications and CSR at ICICI Lombard, Sheena Kapoor, my distinguished and very special guest on this episode of MPP, the Master's Voice podcast. I hope you found the conversation extremely insightful. I certainly did. Till we meet again in the next episode of MVP, the Master's Voice podcast. This is your host and friend Pawan R. Chawla saying, take care, stay healthy, stay safe, and stay insured with the best.